New Warframe, that must mean it's a new tutorial. I've realized I haven't really gone over navigation at all, so I figured I'd better get that done and out of the way. At this point, I'm sure most of you who are playing have already figured out how navigation works, but for those of you that don't, I'll go over that real quick. This isn't going to really be about mission types. I'd kind of like to get into that later because it could be lengthy. This is more just about navigation on a whole and a couple of the quirks about the UI related to it. So if we go to our navigation, you get your star map. Your star map might not be as impressively cluttered as mine because you haven't unlocked all the planets yet. Mine has been unlocked for a while because I had it done before the new UI change that changed it to this. So I can't really say for sure if you don't have all the planets, but I'm pretty sure you don't until you unlock them. Now, if you hover over a planet, it'll tell you the resources, or at least it'll tell you the 4 icon versions of the resources that can be found on that planet. Resources will be dropped from bad guys, they will be dropped from lockers and crates. Pretty much everything on that planet will drop those resources, or I should say have a chance of dropping those resources. You click on the planet, or select your planet, and it will then take you into the planet view, wherein you are treated to the name of the planet, the number of available mission nodes and how many of them you have completed, a description of the planet, and then the resource list with names for people who don't recognize the symbols right off the bat, as I commonly don't, even though I've been playing for forever. Top of the list is usually the most common drops of the resources, bottom of the list being the rarest. The third can usually be found as a drop from the boss. So if you're having a hard time finding, for instance, polymer bundles, you could go and theoretically fight the boss from Mercury and have a better chance of it dropping than just average. This comes in handy when you're looking for things like Orokin cells and neural sensors, because the bosses tend to drop those kind of things on top of Warframe blueprints. How these work is you have a node available to you and the rest of them will look staticky. I can try to find a image of something staticky, but I cannot make any promises because outside of a couple of Archwing missions, I have pretty much cleared everything available to me. So I don't really have a whole lot of places I could show you what the static looks like, unfortunately. That aside, you have a mission available to you, you play that mission, it then unlocks the connecting mission. Pretty straightforward. So you play that mission, you beat that mission, you then have this mission. You can play this one and beat this one, and then in theory it unlocks these two, giving you a little bit of an option as to where you go. Now if your main goal is just to open up all the planets, there is a normally very clear path that goes straight over to the boss node. Bosses being the people that drop the coordinates for your navigation relay so that you can open up new planets. Bosses are indicated with this little eye crown symbol. And then other things you can run into, of course, would be relays, where it's a player hub meeting place. You can go in, see all the other people and what kind of color designs they have. There's a couple of little activities in there. They're getting more fleshed out as time goes on, so I don't really want to get too far into it right now because they're still kind of a new thing. Some places may not have relays. They've been talking about how they can be destroyed in events. So if a place doesn't have a relay, it's probably been either destroyed or it just doesn't have a relay. Don't worry too much about it. The main idea behind doing branches is that it gains access to more of the map to you, as well as gaining some experience and, possible items and the likes. This comes in handy with alerts, which I'll get into in a little bit. There is also the symbol that looks like a pair of wings. That's to indicate a stage as an Archwing mission. In order to do an Archwing mission, you must have completed the quest path for Archwings to unlock the actual Archwing for you to use in those missions. Every mission will have its own type. In the case of like Terminus, it's an exterminate. A faction that's on that stage, in this case it's the Grenier. If I go over this way more, you can see that there's actually a symbol for the faction you'd be fighting on the left. In this case, the square is more the Grenier symbol. And it'll also give you a level range of the enemies within it. This level range is subject to change in certain missions, such as defense missions and survival missions, because the longer you stay in such a mission, the higher and higher and higher the levels of the enemies will go, making it harder to stay longer. You will also sometimes see other symbols and colors on stages. These are to indicate it is a special stage, which I will get into by explaining up here, which is a kind of quick navigation chart, if you will. This first item is to indicate any quest mission. So if you are on a quest, for instance, Howl of the Kubro, it will point you out to the stage that you're supposed to go to complete the given quest you are on. This usually will only point things out if it is an active quest. My game is currently kind of a little bugged out at the moment and seems to think that I have Howl of the Kubro going, even though I've already completed this a long time ago and it's not supposed to be going. The next option is alerts. These are timed alerts that pop up throughout the day, throughout the week, different things, different times. It has a timer. In the case of this one, it's 1 minute. There is an enemy faction involved. It tells you the planet, the level range of what you should expect to fight, the game mode type, such as survival, and then it'll tell you the reward. Alerts reward anything from credits to resources to blueprints for weapons and cosmetic helmets, sometimes even actual Warframe parts. I've seen a Vauban blueprint or two floating around in these. They also will have alerts that will give you things like Forma blueprints or potatoes for inserting into your frame or your weapons, particularly after a dev stream, which is give or take every 2 weeks. A Lotus-based alert will go out, and it usually rewards one potato or the other. Next up comes invasions. Invasions are similar to alerts, but they require a little bit more dedication. There are 2 different kinds: infestation outbreaks, and then offensives, which are just your basic kind of invasion, as they used to be called. An infestation is primarily against infested faction enemies, and they require to be 3 runs. So you have to successfully complete the stage 3 times in order to be eligible for the extra reward, which is called Battle Pay. In the case of this one on Hades, it is a Mutualist Alad v Nav coordinate. Now, most of the time when you see money for it, it's not going to be an impressive number of credits, and you're kind of going to be like, I don't really feel like it. Where the alerts tend to shine when it comes to invasions is for clan tech, because they often will give out something like detonite injectors or Fieldron, and it's not just a little one that you have to build into it, it's the actual fully completed thing. So if you have a clan tech weapon that takes, say, 3 Fieldron, instead of farming a bunch of little pieces of it and then using the blueprint you can buy from the clan tech for a bunch of credits to combine all those into a normal Fieldron section towards that weapon you want to build, you can just run alert invasions like those in order to get that more easily and quickly without having to spend all your time crafting them. Now there is also the offensive types, which is 2 of the factions going up against each other. In the case of this one here, the Grineer are invading the Corpus, so it's called the Grineer Offensive. You have a similar setup to these as Dark Sectors that I can go into in a little bit here. And what it is you pick which faction you want to work for. Each one will generally give you a different reward, although there has been times where both of them will just give you a choice, 25,000 credits. So it's at that point just up to you which side you want to support. And then you pick which one of those battle pay offers you want, and then you work for that team in order to get it. In order to be eligible for that reward, you have to play 5 times successfully defeating the stage in order to be eligible for that reward. Now, both types of invasions, the infestation invasions, and then the Grineer or Corpus offensive invasions, both have a status percentage you can see in kind of the middle of all that text there. What this is every time someone in the wide world of Warframe completes this mission, that will slowly go down until it hits 0. When it hits 0, everybody that's eligible for the rewards gets their rewards. If it hits 0 before you've completed what you need to complete to get that reward, you will not be able to get that reward. This is particularly more relevant when something really nice gets put in there, like a potato or something, because people hop on it and try to get it done as fast as possible, so those invasions really don't last quite as long. Something like just $25,000 on both sides won't tend to draw as many people, so it'll be up for a while longer. Now, the other type of things you have up here is this little square made out of dots, this little cube, if you will. And this gives you just quick access to all of your available syndicate missions. And it's the same thing. They're based on a daily reset timer before they refresh with more. You have the faction that you're going to fight, Infested or whichever. And then you have the name of the planet, the level, range of the enemies. In this case, there's a slight little difference, in which case it'll tell you what your rank is with the clan. For instance, I'm a general for Steel Meridian. So you have the Steel Meridian symbol here, it says general, and then it tells me what type of mission: capture mission, sabotage, rescue. And then it tells you the reward in syndicate standing underneath it. Now, this is kind of crossing over with the syndicate video I did, so if you want more information, go on that. You can see an alert actually just popped up right now, which is nifty, because if I go back in here, you'll see that it now has that information there. So if you miss an alert because you're in a mission and she says something and you're just not paying attention, you can always check when you're back here. Now, mostly all these stages go the same way. I mean, you play through the stage, you get to the boss, you beat the boss, you unlock the new level, play through it, beat the boss, unlock the new level. You can see the little icons right above everything to kind of quickly tell you where stuff is if you don't feel like using up there. And there's a few things that are a little different. If you have a clan key, you have access to your dojo, which is your clan dojo. And you've seen the clan dojo a little bit in my trading video if you've watched that. I can go more into the intricacies of clan dojos at a different time, because it really is its own thing. But you will need a clan key in order to access this, unless you're trading with somebody and they invite you to it. There is also the Void, which you will earn Void keys as you play the game, and it'll gain access to the Void. These keys are a consumable item. When you use them, if you successfully complete the mission, that key is consumed. So if I were to do a Tower 1 capture right now, you'll see it says 45 afterwards, means I have 45 of those keys. Likewise, it tells you the mission, who you're fighting, which in this case is the Orokin faction. It's the only people you fight in the Void. And then the level range of those enemies. And then, of course, the number of keys you have. So in the case of this, if I were to run a Tower Capture 1, I have 45 keys. If I complete that successfully, I am then down to 44 keys. The main reason anybody wants to come to the Void is because this is where all of the Prime gear hides. And Prime gear is usually a slightly altered, slightly better, more blingy version of normal gear. So if I wanted to get one of those Prime frames, for instance like Rhino Prime or Nyx Prime or Nova Prime, and I didn't want to have to play out, however much money to get real money to buy it with platinum or trade a bunch of stuff to get it in platinum, I would go here and run these missions to try to get the parts to make those. Prime weapons, Prime frames, even some of the parts for the one Prime Sentinel they currently have are all in here. With the exception of some also go a couple other places. This is where you're going to find them. Some keys can only be found in certain ways. Tower 4 keys only get done by high-level interception missions, if I remember correctly. A lot of the keys you'll get from doing normal survival missions, normal defense missions. And these, unlike normal stages, you can't have people join you when you're in there. If you're in a normal map level, like if you're on Mercury, it will actually tell you how many. For instance, if I go to friends only even, I believe, maybe public. If I go to one of these, it'll tell me how many squads. Open squads, 1. There's 1 squad right there. There's 1 squad there. There's 0 squads over here. But it'll tell you how many open available squads are in that area. The Void, if you want to bring people with you, you will have to have them in your party beforehand. There is no joining random people in the Void. When you use a key, they must be with you beforehand, and then you all go in there and you play your mission. So keep that in mind. If you like to play with random pugs, you'll have to announce if you want people to come with you into the void in the chat and get them to join you and then go there. Another kind of wonky place like that would be the derelicts. Derelicts are similar in that they require keys to play the missions, and that those keys are consumed when you're in the missions. However, derelicts are infested only stages, and they are home to vaults, which I can get into at a later point in time. These keys, however, are craftable. You can buy the blueprints from the market, and then the blueprint is never consumed. You can just keep sinking the resources into it, waiting for about a minute that it takes for the keys to build, except for the assassinate, which is 3, and then you'll have a key to go there. I do believe you still have to actually get, because it is a key, you have to get your party with you beforehand. You can't just, go, oh, there's 5 open squads here, because it won't work that way. You have to get the people with you in this one and then go into it. The vaults I can get into at a later date. This one does also have a boss in it who rewards Warframe parts, but as far as I know, he doesn't give you a navigation segment. So you don't have to worry about coming here to get that. It's just kind of another Warframe is hidden back here, as well as, some other rewards that are in this specific area or some of those specific game modes. It also does have its own resources drops, as does the Void. Now that right there is navigation. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, and I'm sure most of you already know how it works. You can access it real quick from your escape menu just by going to navigation, and it'll teleport you there, as with anything else. The only other thing I should know about this that I've kind of already mentioned in here is your matchmaking game mode is up here. Now, you can do solo if you want, but friends only and invite only will still allow other people to join you if you invite them, or if they're friends of you, they can join your session as long as you haven't completed the objective. Solo's main benefit is that if you feel like you might need to pause the game, solo will actually pause the game. Downside, of course, is you are by yourself. You have nobody else to help you. Public, you can do it. Random people come in, random people go out. Sometimes you get good people, sometimes you get annoying people, sometimes you get people that are new and don't know what they're doing. It's a grab bag because it's just, whoever's there you can get joined into. A lot of people in the public stages might not be there for the same reasons as you, so you must remember that some people are possibly farming that boss just to get that blueprint part that they need for their Warframe. These people will want to play it as fast as possible to maximize their chances of getting that thing without having to take as long to do it. So when you're with a public group, it might go a little bit faster than you were expecting. It's not necessarily a terrible thing. Sometimes you can really learn a lot from these people. But just realize that if somebody goes whipping through, it's not because they want to play by themselves. It's because they really have that one task that they want to do. Granted, they could just really want to play by themselves, not realize that you can set what you're at up there. To each their own. That is basically navigation in Warframe on the actual interstellar scale, as opposed to the man personnel or alien mutant, if you will, scale. So if there's any questions about that, you can leave a comment and I will try to get to them and respond. If it's something else, hopefully, you can check out one of the other videos if you wanted to learn more about that, and I'll try to do what I can, and I'll keep making some more when I get the chance.